Alright everyone, I have an update to a video that I did relatively recently that I feel was probably prematurely done. And that video was my experience as an Uber driver for the first time. Now that I've had more experience as an Uber driver, I have more information that I can pass along to you and more advice that may help you decide whether or not you really want to get into this. So let's kind of recap for just a moment how my first Uber drives went. It was very simple. I clicked a little ping when I got a ping saying that someone wanted to be picked up. Clicked it. Went to Google Maps. Told me right where to go. I went there. Person got in. They set the destination or where they wanted to go. Dropped them off at the location. Swiped on the little app to end the drive. And that was that. And I did it for 2 people in the same day. And I did it that particular day because Uber will kick you off of the system if you are not driving frequently enough. And I hadn't done my first drive yet, so it was very important that I did do my first drive. Otherwise, all the effort in the world would have gone to waste to, be an Uber driver. So the first 2 experiences were pleasant, expected. Everything went well. Then came the 3rd experience and the 4th experience, and I'll go over each one individually. The 3rd experience is where the real money making comes in. See, the first 2 I made maybe like $20, and you gotta take off a little bit of that for gas, but they gave me a $50 promotional little gift for doing my first drive, which, it's an incentive to keep going. So I said, okay, why not? Next, on my 3rd drive, I went into an area, and it was a surge area, which means that there's a lot of people requesting Uber drivers, and there's not enough to go around, so they have to increase the price for the passengers so that Uber drivers make more money because there's a lot more to deal with. Now, you think that's great, but this was at a big festival near the end of the festival, so everyone coming out of the festival is drunk. They are staggering around, and here's where the first piece of advice comes in. That ping where it's sent for you to go pick them up, never expect that that is the exact place or even remotely close to where you are actually going to have to go to pick them up. And 2, never expect them to have the information put into the system where they want to go. Here's why. This is my story. I picked up 3 gentlemen who were very, very intoxicated. Finding them was very difficult. I went to the ping location like I normally did the previous 2 times, and it was in the middle of a road. There was no parking, there was no nothing. So I was able to pull off to the side where there was like a little gate, and I just sat there for a moment, and the police came up to me and they said, hey, what's going on? And I'm like, well, I'm an Uber driver, and apparently this is supposed to be where I was supposed to pick someone up. Now here's an interesting little tidbit. The officer actually said to me, oh, God, I love Uber. I love it so much because you get the drunk people off of the road safely, and we don't have to deal with as much, crashing and stuff. So the police really respect Uber drivers in my area because they provide a service that lessens the hassle that the police have to deal with at the end of these massive festivals. So there's that. But I picked up 3 very intoxicated people somewhere completely different than where the ping had requested. They called me. I didn't know the area very well, so they were giving me directions, and they assumed that I knew where I was, and this was still a new area to me. And it took me a little while to get to where they wanted me to be, but I eventually got there. And next, once they all get in, I just do the normal thing. You swipe, and then you pick up the passenger, and it gives me directions to where they set the place for me to go. And we get there, and it's like, no, this isn't where we want to go. And I'm like, well, this is where you guys set the app to. And next thing you know, I've got 3 drunk people one next to me, two behind me, giving me directions on where they want to go. Each person giving me completely different directions. Getting directions from someone who is intoxicated is freaking impossible. Eventually, I did get to where we were, or where they wanted to go. There was one person who was not as intoxicated as the others, and they were able to put something on their GPS on their phone and hand it over to me, and we got there. Along the way, always getting advice from the guy next to me to make detours and stuff, which I didn't do because the GPS will get me there. The guy who's intoxicated next to me won't. So it took a lot longer than it should have, but eventually I did get to the destination, and I let them out, and it was like $55 for about an hour of driving around. And then they also one of the guys gave me a $10 tip for the trouble. But, it could have been worse, honestly. Someone could have thrown up. There were people who, they wanted to smoke and chew tobacco in the car, and I told them no smoking, but I told them, okay, if you want to chew tobacco, just don't spit it out in the car. So, also, I can't have beer in the vehicle. So I told them, no beer in the vehicle, please. And, well, it was quite an experience, and it was not easy. At the end of the day, I still made $65, but that's only because I had surge pricing. The next story I'm going to talk about is going to shed some light on the negative aspect of being an Uber driver. So, this fourth drive that I had was another day, and it was not a surge pricing. What happened was I picked someone up, and like in a nice suburb, I'm not going to say exactly where, but I did pick someone up. He wasn't drunk or anything, he was just coming off of work. And here's the thing, I accepted the ping, I got him, and he put the coordinates in exactly where we needed to go and everything sounded great. Until I looked at the drive time to the destination from where we were at was about an hour away. And I'm like, ooh, yeah, that's a bit of a ways away. Turned out, very far away in a nice suburb, he wanted to go into the heart of downtown Chicago. I'm not a city driver for two reasons. One, driving in downtown Chicago is a pain regardless of what you're doing there. And two, GPS signals for Google Maps and stuff don't work very well in downtown Chicago because we've got huge buildings that prevent the signal from working properly. So you kind of have to rely on your own knowledge of the city, or the person behind you who's getting a ride, in this case, helped me navigate around. Now, at the end of the drive, when I got back to my location back in the little suburb, I made $37 for what is essentially 2 hours of my time. One way going there, and I don't get paid on the way back. But after gas expenses, I only made about $24. My vehicle's a small little inline 4-cylinder vehicle. It doesn't burn that much gas, but unfortunately, for 2 hours of my time and gas, after gas and degradation of the structural integrity of my vehicle, because the more you drive your vehicle, the more wear and tear it has, I only made $24 about. And here's the thing. When you get a ping for a for a passenger, it will not show you their name. They changed that not too long ago to prevent discrimination. So some people were only picking up women, some people were only picking up men. They changed that because they didn't want any more of that. So you don't get to see the person's name. But also, much more importantly, you don't get to see the destination where they want to go. So you have to accept whether it's a mile or two away or 50 plus miles away in an area you don't know or don't like. So what do? You could pick them up, look at the information, and be like, oh man, I'm sorry dude, I can't drive in that area. And you can get out, but then they're going to dock your rating. And if your rating as a driver isn't consistently high, Uber will kick you off of the system. So you're not allowed to cherry pick who you want to take. You're not allowed to determine which places you don't want to go. There's no setting that says, hey, I don't want to go here, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to pick up, people who are drunk or this and that. There's a few exceptions, like if they have pets, but you don't have to drive someone who has an animal. I don't mind driving people with animals. I actually have extremely specialized safety harnesses from SleepyPod that are specifically designed to be effective in the event of a crash. In fact, SleepyPod is the only manufacturer in the United States that makes a crash test safety proven safety harness for animals. So I don't mind that. That's fine as long as they wear the harness. But when dealing with a situation where you don't know who it is you're picking up, but they know who you are, and you don't know where they want to go, but they know where they want to go, and on top of that, you really don't make all that much. So for 2 hours of my time, $24 after gas, that's about $12 an hour. Alright. That's, if you look at it just like that, it's more than minimum wage. But at the same time, you're using your own vehicle. And there's wear on the tires, there's wear on the bearings, there's wear on the suspension, wear on the engine, wear on the transmission, etc. And you're risking your own vehicle to do this most of the time. Okay. So it leaves you with questions as to whether or not this is a good idea. Because there's good times, there's bad times. The best case scenario is you pick up someone during a very high surge time and they're not drunk and they put the coordinates in properly. If that is how it was when you drove all the time, there's no doubt in my mind that it would be a fantastic thing to do to make a lot of money. But the thing about it is, that's almost never how it's going to work. There's going to be those situations where you don't want to drive to a certain area or drive a certain distance, etc. And you have to anyway, or risk losing your ability to be a driver. You have to have an extremely high tolerance for ridiculousness that happens in your vehicle. Because a lot of times Ubers are called from people who are bar hopping or need a ride home from the bar, and they're going to be drunk. If you don't have a tolerance to that, it's not the right thing for you. It's very rare that you're going to get people who are not drunk. Because, let's face it, most people in a lot of areas can get transportation a number of ways, whether it's the public transportation, buses, taxis, friends, carpool, whatever. Uber is one of those last-minute kind of deals that people do when they want to get from one place to another, but they can't legally drive. That's the kind of vibe that I'm getting. So they have little promotions, like if you pick up 10 people, we'll give you a little bonus, or if you pick up 100 people, we'll give you a big bonus and stuff like that. But the reality of the situation is, a lot of the times, unless there is a surge, you're sitting there and waiting there for a very long time, just waiting to get some sort of ping, and you end up accepting whatever ping it is, because otherwise you're just wasting time and money by not doing anything. in the end, the only point in which being an Uber driver is actually financially viable is when there is a surge. And even then, you're going to have to deal with people who are not easy to deal with. Unfortunately, it almost feels like a pyramid scheme in the sense, use your own vehicle, use your own time, use your own gas, get a little bit of money, they take their fee, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel legitimate. If you were really desperate for cash and you don't mind all this stuff that I said, you might make a few bucks here and there, but there's just no way that I can see this as a full-time thing. And there are settings to only pick up people who are going in the direction you're going if you're going somewhere, but you can only unlock that setting after you've done a certain amount of Uber drives. Just like that, there's also another setting you can get where you can pick up multiple passengers going to different destinations. Again, you can only unlock that setting after you've done a certain amount of Uber driving. A certain amount of pickups. So you have to earn your way to these higher tiers where you're possibly making more money or it's more financially viable, but it doesn't seem like it's worth the time. If you're thinking about this as a full-time job, I just can't see it working out. I would think just getting a regular job would be a better idea. But that's what I have to say, and it's unfortunate that the system isn't a little bit more lenient towards the drivers, but that's just how it is. So, that being said, thanks for watching, guys. I hope this information was helpful to you. You got to take good with the bad here. Ultimately, the decision is up to you. And, good luck to any drivers out there who want to do it. But that's my experience. That's all I got to say. Thanks for watching.